Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 369. I'm interviewing the Keto Mad Scientist, my friend Thom King, and you are going to love this one, especially if you are living that keto low-carb lifestyle. How's it going out there in podcast land? A few quick announcements before we dive in with Thom here on this episode. One is that you may be like, yo, it's normally the Adam episode week. What's going down there, Big Daddy? I decided I've got a bunch of really cool people that I've talked to, and I'm going to wrap up the year with kind of a interview sprint now through the end of the year. So you're going to get a whole bunch of amazing interviews that I've done here in the last few months. So I can start off 2021 with kind of a clean slate. And I've got a few ideas I'm cooking on as well with that. So that is one thing. The other thing, speaking of 2021, I, again, wanted to make an announcement out there. If you are interested in coaching with me, my one-on-one coaching program, the pricing is going to go up in January. So if you've been thinking about it, stop thinking, start doing, get on the website, millionpoundmission.com, apply for one-on-one coaching. The prices will be going up in January, and it's a great time to get some help, to hunker down, get a little help during the holiday season. If you normally struggle with the holiday season, I could definitely provide a solution for that. So that is the other announcement. The third announcement, Keto Brick, ketobrick.com. Shout out to our sponsor, our friends at Keto Brick. It is a 1,000 calorie, delicious, perfect macro, perfect keto supplement brick. It is real food. It is clean, and it is delicious. It's delicious enough that my daughter in kindergarten asked for it in her school lunch, whether it's toasted almond coconut, peanut butter. The new flavor is out. The buttered maple pecan, three of my favorite words, buttered maple pecan. Robert sent me some of these to try out before they launched, and it was like, it smells and tastes kind of like a pancake with maple syrup on it, and it's delicious. So if there are any of those left by now, probably not, but if there are, I would grab them. It's a great fall flavor for you. So check them out at ketobrick.com and use the promo code MPM like Million Pound Mission. That will get you entered to win a free month of bricks. We're getting ready to do that, drawing a free month of bricks. Can you imagine like how awesome it would be if your name was called and you won that free month of bricks? So ketobrick.com, MPM. All right, let's dive in. Now, the question I want to kick off this conversation with is, do you ever miss certain flavors or sweeter tastes as you live your low-carb or ketogenic lifestyle? Now, I know that I often think things like, man, this ribeye is amazing, but I still kind of miss being able to have some steak sauce. Well, my friends, today I'm bringing in my friend Thom King, who I am now calling the Keto Mad Scientist. Yes, I gave him that nickname. He's bringing the sauces and sweet flavors back. He's bringing sexy back and the sauces and sweet flavors back to the low-carb and keto lifestyle. Thom is the man behind the Guy Gone Keto brand that is changing the flavor profile of the ketogenic and low-carb community by bringing in an assortment of near-zero carb sauces that range from steak sauce to barbecue sauce to his world-famous spicy ketchup. And I can personally say that these are the bomb. They are delicious. Again, my family's loving them, and they're super clean, super healthy. Now, in this episode, Thom and I chat about and deep dive on how he discovered the ketogenic diet for himself and his own transformation results. So again, it's a man with a brand that first had an impact by the ketogenic community, by the diet on his own health, his own body, and decided to go and add value to the community back. So I love that. We talk about the science behind his keto-friendly sauces, and we really deep dive on that, especially on the natural sweeteners, and I grill him. Like, I straight up grilled him because I've been done dirty by natural sweeteners before that all of a sudden it's like, whoops, that gives you cancer. Sorry, we've been telling you to eat that. So I grill him hard on what's safe, what isn't, the real deal on natural sweeteners, and what isn't a natural sweetener. Very important topic. We talk about his best practices when it comes to his products and natural sweeteners so we can specifically avoid a little situation known as disaster pants. So that's, again, very important. And then we dive into, this is where the mad scientist came in. We talked about what he's creating next in the Guy Gone Keto lab. This guy, like, he's a food scientist, and he basically gets thoughts, cravings. He misses certain flavors, and he's like, how could I create this in the lab with natural products? How can I just make that? And he's going to blow you away with what he's creating next. Like, I'm just going to leave the teaser out there so you listen to the episode, but I never thought that this would be possible in the ketogenic space. Let's just leave it at that. And without any further delay, let's dive into episode 369, the Keto Mad Scientist, with my friend Thom King. All right, we are here with Thom King, Guy Gone Keto. Thom King, welcome to the Million Pound Mission podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, Adam. I really appreciate you having me on, and I'm ready to tear this up.
Well, we had a lively conversation before we hit record. That may resurface here shortly, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome. So I want to kick this off by talking about basically the story of your own journey, finding keto and the results that you've personally seen. Because I've read a bunch of your book, and there's a great story behind this.
It's kind of a confessional. Like, I think that people that pick up the book are like, oh, hey, this is going to be a great cookbook or something. It's not so much a great cookbook as much as it is like sort of I would say a chronicle of my journey and what it took to like make a lifestyle shift. And that it started for me in Las Vegas. So like I had dabbled in keto, like, but when I dabbled in it, was called Atkins at the time. And Atkins theoretically really isn't keto. It's pretty heavy in protein. So, and where keto is more heavy in fat, but it worked for me when I needed to not be fat. So I would like gain a bunch of weight, basically eat and drink whatever I wanted. I'd gain weight, and then I would use Atkins. I'd drop 20, 25 pounds, and then I would go off. And so I used it as a diet. And I just sort of, kept getting this yo-yo weight thing going on. Like I would lose 20, but gain back 25, and then I would lose 20, and then I'd gain back 30. And so eventually, I mean, I was carrying what I felt like was quite a bit of extra weight, like about, I'd say 35, 40 pounds of extra weight. And I was in Las Vegas, and I had a client, actually a supplier, take me out to dinner, which means free food and abundant free food. So I had like this massive ribeye, which is keto, and followed by a baked potato, which is not keto, and cake and wine, which are also not keto.
Not keto.
But at that point, I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to fill my face. And so I got back to my room in Vegas, and I was staying at the Luxor. And that was a whole whole separate set of circumstances, but it was like the perfect storm. So I got back to the room, and basically it smelled like stale liquor, broken dreams, and shame. So I was like, I'm like, okay, so what do I do with this? And so I was looking in the mirror, and I'm like carrying 35 pounds of extra weight. I was in the process of going through a divorce that was stressful and just crappy. My blood pressure was through the roof. I, had to take naps during the day. And at that point, I think that the pleasure that I was deriving from that type of a lifestyle, I think that the pain that I was experiencing exceeded that pleasure. And that's when I just started to go down this path of like, hey, I need to make a lifestyle change, and I need to do it right now. And so I've always been a big fan of journaling. And so I just started writing it down. Like, okay, so how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to get fit? How am I going to stop, eating garbage? And how am I going to really take control over my life? And so after about a year of writing this stuff down and losing 35 pounds and getting my blood pressure down to 120/80 and clearing up all of the BS in my life, I had a book. And so I brought it to a publisher, and I'm like, hey, these are just some notes I took. And they're like, this is a book. And so we released the book, and it was actually #1 on Amazon for a second and a half, which was pretty amazing to me. It was my first book I ever wrote, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah. And so released the book. The book was doing well, but in that interim time, there was a lot of stuff that I missed. Like I missed ketchup, I missed teriyaki sauce, I missed barbecue sauce, because like all of those have more sugar, more added sugar than ice cream. And it's like, I need this stuff. So, I mean, I'm a food technologist and a food scientist. So I just went in the lab and made it. We had my main hustle is selling sweeteners to manufacturers that don't have any type of effect on blood sugar and are all natural. And so I had all of the things that I needed to be able to create these condiments. And so I just started making the condiments and I started using them. And then people here started using them and they're like, oh, these are really good. You should try, you should try selling these. And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. And yeah, so we released them about a year and a half ago and the brand just took off. And that's the story.
It's amazing. I love it when people have a personal change story and that kind of turns into a passion and that turns into this whole big like opportunity and usually a business opportunity. And so there's a brand with a real, like a lot of heart behind it. And that's really cool. And I love hearing stories like yours, especially in the low carb space, because I feel like, low carb had its big boom and everybody's like on board. And now it's like, it's kind of trendy to be like, oh, but it's going to kill you. And then that's what there's a lot of people like myself out there like, no, it's not going to kill you. Like you gotta do certain things correctly, like any nutritional adventure. But I feel like you're somebody that's making keto easier and sustainable. And that's hugely important in the space.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I think that a lot of people actually misunderstand keto because like I'll bring it up like on a podcast or something or run into somebody at a trade show and they're like, oh, you're that guy who just eats meat and cheese all the time. And I'm like, well, I like meat and cheese and I like bacon, but it's not what makes up my entire diet. Like, so keto is basically 70% fats. You can get that from avocados. You can get it from nuts. You can get it from olive oil, MCT oil. There's tons of ways that you can find fat into your diet, and then 20% protein. So it's not really a high protein diet. You're just getting enough protein to maintain muscle mass, and then the rest of it is the 10% is carbohydrates, and that just really depends on like, okay, so what kind of carbs. Like, you're going to stay away from bread because it's high glycemic. That means it bumps up your blood sugar levels. You're going to stay away from stuff that basically grows underground, like potatoes and sweet potatoes. And you're going to stick with mostly the stuff that grows above ground, like lettuce, cruciferous vegetables, and things like that, and cauliflower. And I mean, if you do keto right and you plan it, it's a super easy lifestyle and you feel really great. Like, the upside is you'll lose some weight if you want to lose weight. I mean, if that's your thing. But I would say that the bigger upside is brain function. Like, it's all of a sudden like somebody turns the lights on when your body is burning ketones instead of glucose.
And it's interesting because earlier you mentioned napping, like always having to take naps. I was like Mr. Siesta. Even like I wasn't full on keto until about a year and a half into this show. Like I was just kind of like moving that direction, and then I've committed. And now we're 400 episodes in. And it's been like that for a couple of years, but like I was Mr. Nap midday. Just got to take a nap. And since I've gone keto, zero naps. Like I don't need it. My energy is steady. And that's something that you hear a lot of people talking about: steady energy, not getting blood, insulin spikes throughout the day, and real good clarity. It's almost like that afternoon coffee not needed anymore. Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the major food groups in keto. You mentioned meat, cheese, bacon, and then coffee is the fourth one.
I don't drink any coffee after noon. So after 12 noon, I shut that stuff down, just because it affects my sleep at night. And now it's like, now I'm super focused on sleep. Like how much if I get 8 hours, I mean, that's like, I mean, it would be a cause for a massive celebration. But it's interesting. So like coffee, so generally I'll have like a cup of coffee in the morning, and that'll be the extent of my coffee. And then the rest of the day I'll sip on tea, like green tea or black tea, until about noon, and then I just shut the caffeine down at that point. But I don't really need it anymore. But flashback 5 years ago. I mean, I have a couch in my office and it would be 1 o'clock and I'm like, okay, got to turn the lights off. And now if I just laid in on the couch, it'd be relaxing and enjoyable, but there'd be no sleep because my mind would be going like, yeah, let's get something done here.
Now, what was your first like couple of weeks of being like in strict keto? What was that like? Did you have any keto flu symptoms? Did you go through any sort of a transition period?
Um, okay, so this was a journey. So, and naturally on any journey, you screw it up. And so I screwed it up. Like I thought, so for me, it's like, okay, so I'm going to do 6 days of keto and then Sunday, I'm just going to bust it loose. Like I'm going to have pie. I'm going to have ice cream. I have a burger. I'm going to have a couple beers. I might even have a bourbon. And so I would do that on Sundays. I would just eat like I would just be a pig. And I thought that, yeah, that's good enough. If I do 6 days and then roll into the seventh day. And so I did that like for the first month and I wasn't getting any results. And also my week. So it would take me until probably Tuesday where I could get back into keto and I suffered. I mean, I just did like, I had all these cravings. Like I want some French fries. I got to have something. And where's the pizza? So I would have that, from Monday until Tuesday, sometimes even Wednesday. So really, the only time that I felt like I was in solid keto would be maybe Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then I'd be back in the pleasure zone on Sunday. So I just had to course correct because it's like, I mean, data collection will tell you if you're doing anything right or wrong, mostly of what you're doing wrong. And I wasn't losing any weight. Blood pressure was staying about the same. Energy level was a little better. Um, I guess you could call that what I was doing is dirty keto. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that I was like, okay, so I really need to get some results here. So then it was just keto 7 days a week and then intermittent fasting, like I'll, get up in the morning and probably not eat anything until 1 o'clock. So I can get plenty fasted. And then also incorporating like maybe monthly or quarterly doing a 72-hour fast
Nice.
and really getting yourself nice and fasted. And that's like, I don't know. So, but through all of that, I've never gotten the keto flu. And I've had people talk to me about it like, oh my God, I felt so crappy. And I was just like, well, try some water. Like if you have water with lemon in it, it builds up your electrolytes because a lot of people are like, I'm detoxing. And it's like, no, you're not detoxing. What you're doing is you're starving. Okay. Because that's basically the keto diet is you starve yourself of carbs and your body's like, hey, I'm out of carbs. Let's find something else to burn. And that's when it starts, you start going down the pathway of metabolizing fats into ketones. And then that's when you make the shift. So if people feel like they're getting the keto flu, hydrate, a lemon water, salt, like pile on the salt, like I use pink Himalayan salt, but I just throw a little in my mouth every 15 or 20 minutes. Don't get any muscle cramps, nothing. And I knock on wood, I've never had the keto flu.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially people that are on a weight loss journey, they're very salt phobic. And I definitely was there. I used to weigh 327 pounds. I lost over
Whoa.
100 pounds before I even started keto.
Oh,
So I was very like, man, salt. I don't have, because I had blood pressure issues when I was heavier.
mm-hmm.
So that was a huge mistake for me. I was very salt phobic and I got it bad. I was having like the heart palpitations and stuff going on. And then I'm like, I'm going to try this salt thing. Everybody's talking about the salt. And it was like instant, Tom. As soon as I get some salt in me, I was like, I feel a lot better. Wow. That was awesome. So
yeah, like salt, like if you think about it, like if you just do the science behind it, it's like the salt is like such a conductor of electricity. So if and the electricity, like an electrical impulse is what triggers your heart to beat through the vagus nerve. And so if you're super low on electrolytes and salt, that's where your heart starts getting janky. You don't have any energy. You can get a little off balance. Muscle cramping, that's a big one. You start getting muscle cramping when you're low on electrolytes. So, salt, salt will you put on some water weight. I don't really care about stuff like that. So if I have a little bit of water that I'm carrying around, not a big deal. But I think salt and magnesium and potassium keeping your body, filled with electrolytes, so everything's triggering. That's definitely key to avoiding the keto flu.
Nice. Now, here in a second, I want to dive in to your products. You were kind enough to send me out some samples, and man, I tore through them. My kids, my wife, they're really, really, really good. So we're going to talk about Thoms Products. We're going to talk about Sweeteners, all that in a second. We'll take a quick shout out moment to our friends at KetoBrick.com. If you guys haven't checked out the Keto Brick, it provides 1,000 calories of shelf-stable ketogenic nutrition with perfect macronutrients. My personal favorite flavor is peanut butter, and my kids love toasted almond coconut. Head on over to KetoBrick.com and use the promo code MPM at checkout for a chance to win a free month of Keto Bricks. That's KetoBrick.com and use the promo code MPM, like Million Pound Mission. All right, Thom, it's time to talk about your amazing sauces, man. You sent me out some of the steak sauce, the barbecue sauce, the teriyaki sauce, and I've been going pretty heavy on the meats, like more skewing towards carnivore. So like I'm crushing it on my pot roast and like barbecue sauce all over it. My steaks, my ribeyes, it's really, really good. And anytime I try a new product out and it's really good, I'm like, the whole it's too good to be true thing happens in my head. I'm like, wait a second. I've especially with sweeteners, because I remember when sucralose came out and like everybody's like, it's safe, man. And then like a year later, like gives you cancer, maybe, I don't know. And then like, oh crap, I've been consuming this. So you're a scientist by trade. And so let's talk about what is in your products, how you're sweetening it, and is it safe? What's it made of? What's the science saying? So let's dive into that.
Well, so I use a minimal amount of ingredients, and all the ingredients that I use are natural. So even like with the sweeteners, like we use a combination of allulose, and allulose is probably like the newest sweetener on the market. A lot of people are not familiar with it. It's allulose is actually made from like starches, or you could use like a corn glucose substrate. And so think fermentation. So when you ferment something, you make wine, you can make beer. In this case, you're going to be converting sugars over to allulose. And allulose is actually a sugar, so it's a saccharide. It's a monosaccharide. So it functions a lot like sugar, except the only difference is your body doesn't metabolize it as sugar. So it doesn't affect blood sugar. It actually will lower your blood sugar slightly. It doesn't affect ketones. It'll actually raise your ketone level slightly. But it functions a lot like sugar in the respect that it caramelizes. And so there's a scientific effect, if you will, called the Maillard effect. And that is the interaction of proteins and sugars that causes caramelization. So when you look at like a barbecue sauce and you've got ribs going and it gets that shell, like that, like coating on the crispy coating on the outside, that's actually the function of Maillard. But allulose actually burns at a little bit lower temperature than sugar does. So I had to add in a little bit of erythritol. And erythritol is a pretty common product in a lot of keto products. And it's an alcohol sugar, so it doesn't really burn. So it sort of suppressed that browning sensation to have it be sort of on parity with regular sugar. And then the rest of it's just like tomatoes and spices, and then I also added MCT oil, just to increase the fat and to be able to hold in a lot of the if you're cooking meat and stuff, to hold in a lot of the juice in the meat. But they're really pretty they follow the keto macro precisely, but they're really minimal ingredients, and all of the stuff that we sourced was natural. Because being a food scientist, I have worked with sucralose. There's a lot of people that believe the sucralose is like the holy grail. I don't mind sucralose. I don't consume it because it's a chlorinated sugar molecule, and because I've worked with it so much, I've opened up vats of it, and it really smells like chlorine, like a lot. And
that should ruin it for everyone.
well, I mean, our water contains chlorine, but this smelled like, every time I've worked with it, it's like, wow, that's very strong sort of chlorine sort of essence to it. And so I think that concerns me about consuming sucralose, there's like two things. Number one, because because it's made from a chlorinated sugar molecule and you're putting that into your gut, um, I'm kind of concerned that it can create an imbalance in your microbiome. So, like if you introduce bleach into bacteria, it kills the bacteria. And so, from my perspective, I like to keep a healthy microbiome. So, yeah, I feed it lots of like inulin, like soluble fibers, just to keep it, to keep it super healthy. So I try not to take in like chlorine or chlorinated products. The other thing about all of the artificial sweeteners like aspartame, um, sucralose, it's not a function of nature. So your body doesn't really understand how to metabolize it. So when you take it in, when you ingest it, your body's like, okay, so this is sweet, but I don't know what it is. I don't recognize it as a glycoside, which is what stevia is in monk fruit. Like I don't recognize this and I don't know how to metabolize it. It doesn't exist in nature. So while you'll get calorie abatement, you'll get less calories going in, it still triggers an insulin response. You still get triggered as if you ate sugar with, your body's own sort of chemistry, but you do get the benefit of not having the calories. So, I mean, it's just preference. I prefer not to put that stuff in my system. Um, some people don't. I don't think that everything that has sucralose in it is bad. I just prefer to not have it be part of my diet.
Well, I think that insulin response, that point is worth kind of repeating because a lot of
Okay.
people don't really think about like, oh, I'm eating this, I'm
Hmm.
not getting the calories, I'm not getting the carbs, but it's
Hmm.
causing cravings for a lot of people. Like it's making them
Oh yeah.
crave other sweet things and
Right.
look for carbs. So when they are, and which beats down their willpower, which
Hmm.
beats down their decision making ability.
Sure.
And a lot of these people, they're giving in because they're repeatedly putting these artificial sweeteners in, and that's a lot. I think a lot of people are really struggling because of that. You kind of mentioned the word dirty keto, like they're using a lot of like
Hmm.
artificial stuff in there, and they're not.
Right.
They're caving into cravings basically.
Yeah, it will definitely trigger cravings. And so, I do all of these experiments on myself, like, which is, which people that know me are like, you're sick all the time. And I'm like, but I'm just temporarily sick. And so usually it's like, I'll get some terrible diarrhea because I'll try to take something to a threshold. Like, okay, so what is it going to be like if I eat a couple 100 grams of allulose? Like, what's going to happen? Or if I eat 100 grams of erythritol. So I'll do these things, and it usually I understand the threshold, right? So, and which really helps me develop products because when I just developed a new line of cocktail syrups that are going to be coming out next month. And so I use those on myself, and it was sober October, so I didn't use it with alcohol, but I did use it with soda. And with those, then I can understand like, okay, so if somebody's going to have like 4 drinks, how much allulose and how much of these other compounds are they going to be taking in, and is it going to trigger a response? And with allulose, it, it allulose, it's not like it's different. So like erythritol has a molecular weight that's pretty low. So when you ingest it and it gets into the gut or into the bowel, it actually draws moisture. And so it's not too difficult to figure out what happens if you're pulling a lot of moisture into your into your into your bowel. Like
Disaster pants.
it, disaster pants for sure. And so the difference with allulose is allulose ferments. And so once it gets into once it gets into your gut, it can ferment if you take a lot of it. And then just think of fermentation like when you open a can of beer and you have effervescent, qualities in that. That's a function of fermentation. So that's what will happen. You'll get effervescent, if you will.
Little effervescence.
Yeah, a little, farting. So it's just the difference. So, but I will dose myself to these ridiculous levels just to see where the threshold is. So I don't have consumers eating something and being like, oh my God, I sat on the toilet for like 2 hours after I ate that. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I remember I think it's still around, is the weight loss drug Ally, ALLI. Do you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
was that the
It was the
yes.
fat absorption blocker. And it
Yes.
had a pamphlet inside. You would open
Yeah.
it and it would have instructions to carry around extra underwear and pants because you'd probably poop your pants while you're on the pill.
Yes.
Um, and those were like actual, like it comes with that instruction. I thought that's impressive.
Yeah, the same thing was used in a fat substitute back in, I think, the 90s. It was called Alestra. And so they
Yeah.
had all of these potato chips and different products that had all this fat in it, which is kind of interesting because you don't really think of picking up a bag of potato chips and looking at the warning label and it says, warning may cause an oily stool. It's like, wait, what is that? What is an oily stool? Well, if you eat a bag of those chips, you would find out soon enough what an oily stool is.
New ruffles with ridges and oily stools.
Exactly.
Oh
And it's
boy.
off the market now. Like nobody's interested in an oily stool anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like a good time to me.
No.
So, all right, just for clarity's purpose,
Yes.
we've got stevia, we've got
Hmm.
monk fruit, we've got allulose, we've got
Hmm.
erythritol. Those are
Yeah.
all different things. They aren't just similar names for a same thing, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, some of them are plant based, like stevia is made from the stevia leaf. The sweet constituents that are in the stevia leaf are called glycosides. And glycosides are things that exist in nature. Like I can give you an example of like if you pick up let's say you have a blade of grass and you chew on the end of it, and it's like that's slightly sweet. Those are usually glycosides or D-xylose, which is another sort of natural existing uh, sweet compound, if you will. So the monk fruit and stevia fall into those particular categories of glycosides. And so they're sweet. They have a sweet technical effect, but that's it. They don't have any other effect other than just tasting sweet. And then erythritol is an alcohol sugar, and that is the most GI friendly. And then you can just go down the line. Like you've got erythritol, you have xylitol, that gets a little slippery slope. And then you get into like the maltitol and sorbitol, which those have like a serious laxation effect. Like they used to make gummies out of that, and you'd be like, oh my God, these gummies are the most unbelievable thing. You know, you'd eat a pound of gummies, and a half hour later, those gummies are the worst thing on the face of the planet. I wish I would have never eaten those. So those fall into alcohol sugars. And then allulose actually falls into rare sugars. And allulose is like generally regarded as safe, so you can use it as a food additive. And then there's other rare sugars like tagatose and things like this that exist in nature that aren't really super popular yet and don't have GRAS status, are generally regarded as safe with the FDA. So that's sort of that's the elevator pitch on sweeteners.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the fan favorites as far as like my two jams were the barbecue sauce and the
Oh,
steak sauce. I consume those. Like I didn't really want to share those with my family. That's how much I like them. I was like, I think we're out of
I'll
that.
hook you up with plenty more.
So, but what kind of feedback do you get? Like, what are people loving, and what are some of the uses that you're seeing people use your products for?
I think the most popular is the ketchup because
Really?
everybody loves the ketchup. But and we just got the new SKUs in this week, so they're brand new. But the spicy garlic ketchup, hands down, like when we were still in R&D with it, I took it camping and had like some brats. It was amazing. I was like, holy crap, like this has got to be one of the best formulations I've ever made. And it was really solid. So I have hope for that one being the number one. But right now, number one is ketchup. The number two is teriyaki sauce. Like people go crazy over the teriyaki sauce. And then the barbecue sauce. And, you know, my personal favorite is actually the Thai sweet chili because we reformulated it completely, so it's really the consistency is amazing. And then the steak sauce. because that steak sauce is like the love child of Heinz, like Heinz 57 meets A1
Yep.
in a dark closet. And then out came the Guy Gone Keto steak sauce. And I'm like, all right, I won't tell. What happens in that closet stays in the closet. But that's like, that is like one of my favorites. Like if you just grill a medium rare, ribeye, and with just a little bit of that steak sauce on it, it's hard to control oneself.
So yeah, my jam with the steak sauce is I'm a new air fryer guy. Like I'm
Nice.
like 2 months in on the air fryer situation.
Yeah.
So I get a thinner cut steak, like a chuck eye steak that's still got a lot of fat in it. I'll air fry that sucker, slice it up, and put the steak sauce on it.
Yeah.
Hold me back. It's damn good, man. Like it's really, really good.
Thank you.
So yeah, well done. And you've got new packaging, right? You're in bottles and not bags now. That's kind of what we were laughing about earlier, because you had some unfortunate bag squirting incidents.
Bag squeezing. There was. So I think that some of the people didn't understand the principles of displacement. So they would take the bag and they'd rip it, and then that bag would just splash on them. And we get pictures like, "Hey, I'm covered in teriyaki sauce. Now what do I do?" And I said before, well, put yourself in an oven at 375 for 45 minutes, and you'll be done. We had to. You're ready. So we switched off to a bottle, and the bottles I think are going to be a lot sort of easier for people to use. Expanded our SKUs, and then we're using the same sort of bottle format for our cocktail mixes. And so the cocktail mixes I'm super interested in to see, because most of the people that I run into, even when I go to like conferences and stuff like that, like they're keto, but I think they still like their booze, and because I see them drinking like, oh, this is keto wine. I'm like, well, wine's not keto. Booze isn't keto either. So somebody's like, yeah, well, I'm drinking this whiskey, it doesn't have any carbs. I'm like, I get that, but booze is not keto. So I need to be totally clear about that. We all have our vices, okay? I mean, I have mine, and I'm not going to criticize people for their vices if they don't criticize me.
Yeah.
So, but I was looking at cocktails, and it's like, what's delicious is like a pina colada. But when you look at a pina colada, like the sugar in pina colada is like 60 grams. And so when you're mixing sugar and alcohol, that's why people make bad decisions, and end up having kids and and buying stuff and just And I speak for myself, of course. But we have like appletini, which is amazing.
Wow.
And so I came up with this term called mockernauts. So rhymes with astronaut. So a mockernaut is it a mock cocktail or not? So you'd actually like have a mock cocktail, but it still tastes like a cocktail. Like our margarita mix and our mango margarita mix, all of them have like less than 3 carbs per serving.
Wow.
And no added sugars, and they're really good. And that I'm super excited about that. But I also want to get ahead of it, because people are going to be like, hey, that Guy Gone Keto, no, he's promoting alcohol. And it's like, look, you want to put alcohol in it? I'm not going to judge you. Would I put alcohol in it? Yeah, I would. But am I going to be keto when I do it? No, I'm not. I'm going to fall out of keto, because alcohol is ethanol, right? And so ethanol is classified as a sugar, and it's metabolized by your liver, right? So it doesn't have any carbs, has limited calories, but what happens is your liver is going to be busy metabolizing ethanol, and it isn't going to be metabolizing lipids or fats. So it'll knock you out of keto. You should recover fairly quickly if you practice moderation.
So it's kind of like with that brand, it's instead of Guy Gone Keto, it's like Guy Gone partying for a minute and go and have some fun.
It is. I like to call it Guy Gone Off the Wagon.
Guy will be returning to keto soon. Maybe that's
it is. Guy's taking a break, which also leads me to another thing too, is metabolic flexibility, because like I did keto straight like religiously for probably 3 years, and then I hit a plateau, It's like I felt like I couldn't lose any weight. I wasn't getting any more fit, and so I was at an event and ran into a friend of mine, Mark Sisson, who does the Mark's Daily Apple.
Yep.
And I'm like, Mark, I'm just getting fat, and it's like, I'm staying keto, and he's like, well, go do some wind sprints and then eat some carbs. And so what I found is that it's a good idea to occasionally go off keto, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe cycle on keto for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then take a week and add some carbs back in. I'm not talking about eating bread and donuts and pizzas, but maybe add a sweet potato, maybe add some quinoa. Because what happens is you start developing what's called metabolic flexibility. And you want metabolic flexibility. Otherwise, if you're just keto, you're going to look at a carb and gain weight. But if your body knows how to go back and forth between metabolizing, sugars or carbs and metabolizing fats and converting those to ketones, if your body knows how to do that shift, you're going to have a lot easier time moving in and out of keto. So metabolic flexibility.
Yes. And we had Rachel Gregory on a few episodes back from the MetFlex and Chill podcast. Shout out to Rachel. And that's definitely something there's a lot more information coming out, and there's not as much shaming as there used to be, like carb shaming. Like, oh, I thought you were hardcore keto, man. Why are you? I saw you eating a sweet potato in your IG story. What's up with that? I thought you were keto. You're out of the club. So yeah, there's a lot less of that going on. I think that people are
good.
They're experimenting, and that's good. Like, I feel like I need to title this episode "The Keto Mad Scientist" because, man, I love how you're like, I'm kind of wanting this. I'm going to create it. Like I'm just going to create it. Like, that's awesome, man. I think that's so damn cool.
Thanks. I mean, and I do create stuff that's sort of off the wall. Like I've got one product that's going to be coming out. I mean, I want to release it. Everybody's telling me it's stupid, but I have like this one product that's called Keto Mouth Killer. And it's actually like a tooth powder that has like a variety of different salts and compounds in it that are literally designed to like kill whatever you have going on up in that mouth when you do keto. Like if you're not drinking enough water, like if you go to a keto event, you can walk around and pretty much smell a couple people that are definitely in keto. Like it's like, oof, it's like clean that stuff up, son. So the Keto Mouth Killer, like I'm going to be interested to see how that goes over, because it's not like, it doesn't taste like your typical, Crest or Colgate toothpaste. It's a little salty, it's a little sweet. It's got a lot going on, but Keto Mouth Killer.
Dude, sign me up for the test group. And if it makes me, have disaster pants, I'll let you know. I'll post on Instagram. Like disaster pants to me is just an opportunity. Like that's going to get a lot of likes on Instagram.
It is. It's just letting go.
It's being authentic, authenticity is the key.
Just keeping it real.
Oh my gosh. Thom, man, this is fun, man. I want to make sure that people can get inside of the Guy Gone Keto world. So what is the best way to plug in, check out your stuff, check out some of your products, get your book, all that good stuff?
GuyGoneKeto.com or any of the socials. Like you can hit me up on Instagram, which I'm pretty good with Instagram. I'm a little better with Twitter, which says a lot to my demographic. Facebook, LinkedIn, look me up on LinkedIn. But if you look up Guy Gone Keto, you can DM me there if you have questions. If you want to see like the mad science, get on our mailing list for Guy Gone Keto. If you want to see like the crazy mad science, just go to Icon Foods. That's my real day job, the CEO and food scientist at Icon Foods. So the Guy Gone Keto is my side hustle, but I honestly like it more. So
don't tell anyone. Listeners, do not tell anyone.
Yeah, don't tell it. Keep it secret, please.
Secret time. And I tag Guy Gone Keto quite a bit when I'm listing my food profiles and things like that. So nice. If you guys are following me on Instagram, you'll be seeing that quite a bit. Thom, man, this has been a very interesting conversation. I knew that it was going to be, we don't get to dive into the science as deep as this and really, talk about what things are made up of. And, we haven't talked about sweeteners at all. So this has been a unique conversation in Million Pound Mission history. And greatly appreciate the time invested in the community and getting our message out there, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing. It's super important. We just keep the word out there.
All right, everybody, it's time to take action. I want you to set those implementation alarms. What are you going to take action on in the next 24 hours? Maybe you're going to check out Thom's stuff. Maybe you're going to try one of his amazing products. Maybe you're going to just work on sticking to your keto diet a little more strictly. Maybe you're going to try some metabolic flexibility. I don't know, but what is that thing? Set that implementation alarm for the next 24 hours and get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you got a ton out of it. If you feel like you need a little bit of a boost, a little bit of an accountability buddy, a little bit of coaching, I've got my 28-day coaching program open and ready to help. You can go to millionpoundmission.com and apply. I take a few people each week. I like to stagger them out as we onboard new people so you get maximum attention. We're touching base every week with video chats. We've got a daily Google Doc that I call the Client Hub that we check in with on a daily basis. We really dig in with your macros, your calories, your fitness. I supply all the resources you need in all those areas, and it's supportive accountability to help you burst through that plateau, to reverse your momentum from negative to positive, and really get after those goals that you've been shooting for so long. It's time to go from goal setting to goal achieving, and the 28-day coaching program is the way to get it done. Head on over to millionpoundmission.com and submit your application today.